Okay, let's do it.
Welcome to Living, Breathing, Having a Good Time, Life Unleashed. And today we have a special guest, Dr. Drew Hall. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to have a banter back and forth.
Well, we attempted this interview before, but you really have an immense amount of knowledge with the Blair technique and upper cervical, and you now live in Sarasota, Florida, which I refer to you all the time as the upper cervical guy, the guru. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So the easiest way to tell the public or whoever's listening about myself is to tell my story, how I got involved in the upper cervical work. But before I do that, I was born in Walnut Creek, California, went to chiropractic school in LA, practiced in LA from 2001 to 2021. COVID hit, and I won't say more than I had enough of California and moved to Sarasota, Florida. In my opinion, one of the best places on the planet. And
one of the beaches in the United States, right? Siesta Key.
You can't beat it.
No.
Yeah, so moved the family out here, set up a practice in, it was November of 2021, I think. And been just cranking away ever since. But do you want me to tell my story?
I do.
Okay.
A lot of us would like to hear your background, where you came from, and what got you into this kind of line of work.
Yeah, so basically what happened to me, I was 17 years old in high school and on the baseball team, and after practice, got in a wrestling match with a buddy of mine like boys do. Well, I was on the losing end of it and was held upside down about 2.5 feet off the ground on the pitching rubber and got dropped completely upside down. And when I landed, hurt a big in my neck. And the first thing that flashed through my mind was, oh my God, I hope I'm not paralyzed. And rolled over, stood up. I wasn't paralyzed. I didn't have any pain. I knew nothing about the neck and its role in the health process. So because I didn't feel bad, I went through the rest of the day, didn't tell anyone, went to sleep, and pretty much forgot about it. And over the next months, I didn't feel bad until about 6 months afterwards. I started having trouble falling to sleep at night, and I started waking up in the morning and feeling like I hadn't slept at all, and developed headaches right at the back of the head. And 9 months in schoolwork, I still passed, but all of a sudden my reading comprehension wasn't good. And I was the person who went to the grocery store and came out of the grocery store and was the idiot wandering around the parking lot trying to find my truck. So there was
And who does that at that age, right? I mean,
yeah.
You're 79, 80 years old. So when that happened initially, did it really freak you out? Did you go through the gamut of medical practices to try and actually help heal yourself?
I mean, it was it wasn't like it hit me like a ton of bricks all at once. It was a slow downhill slide. I tend to be positive. So I kept telling myself it'll eventually go away.
Sure.
But
most athletes do. Yeah.
Yeah, two years in, I found myself with depression and anxiety and 4 hours falling asleep at night and never sleeping through the night. And it got really bad. Sinuses swollen shut, TMJ issues, and what really made me finally say something to my parents is I started having suicidal thoughts, because that alternative felt better than living the way that I was. And so, yes, I went from initially to our primary care, who was a good guy, but he didn't know what was wrong. So he sent me to internists, and they did MRI and blood workup and chest x-ray, and all that was negative. So then I got sent to an infectious disease specialist, and all of that was negative. And I basically got told there was nothing wrong with me. And of course it was just all in my head. Go see a psychiatrist. And when I got told that, that kind of,
right? I mean, you've got a lot of patients as well that they come in to see you, and you're kind of like the last hurrah of trying to find relief. And
exactly.
So a lot of medical diagnoses go diagnosed improperly for an immense amount of time. So by the time they find you, they're way off kilter than where they originally started. So who exactly did you meet, or how did you meet the person that actually does what you do?
Well, I got kind of lucky. I just, well, if you believe in luck, I don't believe in luck anymore. So it wasn't really lucky. I guess it was Providence. And I just happened to cross a book on in Barnes and Noble because there was no internet back then. When you got told it was all in your head, you didn't go to Google. You had to find another way. And I got a hold of a book that was titled Chronic Fatigue Syndrome and Fibromyalgia. And I read that book and I was like, oh my gosh, that is me. In the back of that book, there was a support group. Called them up. That led me to a homeopathic doctor. And thank God the homeopath sent me to Dr. Tom Forrest in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I almost didn't go because I was scared of chiropractic just through ignorance. I didn't really know much about it.
Tell us a little bit about what you do, because it's called the Blair technique. And for a lot of people, right, they ask the question, well, why is that different from every other chiropractor that's adjusted my neck?
So the reason I was scared is I thought I was going to someone that was going to take my neck and go, and that was not what he did. So there's three hallmarks of the upper cervical work. A, there's no twisting, popping, or pulling. B, we take 3D imaging. And what we're interested in is the relationship of the atlas. There's two joints on the top of the atlas, which is the top vertebra in your neck. That guy right there. And your head has two joints on the bottom that fit in those two joints. And where those two joints fit, they're mirror images of one another. And so if you have a structural disrelationship at the floor of the skull, you're going to see the misalignment, the joint margins. So the 3D imaging allows the Blair chiropractor to slice through the joint to see the structural misalignment. So it's not by feeling or twisting, finding decreases in range of motion.
Clear too, because this is a very special machine, because most MRI machines, correct, they don't get up to the C1, C2 area. They can't actually have a clear concise.
MRI would work. It's just traditional way viewing software doesn't allow us to slice through the way we do. And what we use is called CBCT. It's cone beam computed tomography. It's X-ray based, but it's like an MRI. It produces a 3D image. And instead of looking at soft tissue, it's looking at the hard tissue, bone structure. But yeah, it changed the game for the Blair work because very clearly at the joint margins, you can see the structural misalignment. And so the third hallmark is we use testing to determine if someone's out of alignment, once they're corrected on a follow-up visit, whether they need a correction or not. So the whole goal of the Blair upper cervical work isn't to adjust someone back to health. It's to make the right correction to get the vertebra underneath the skull back in its normal range of motion, because that's where the brainstem sits, which from a neurology standpoint, that's what runs the show. And so the adjustment's goal is to correct the biomechanical problem, to remove the irritation off the cord. And what actually gets the patient better isn't the adjustment, it's the vertebra staying in its normal range of motion, there being no irritation on the cord, which then allows the body to function better and go through a healing, mending, and repair process. So
let me ask you a question, because I'm full of questions today, because I'm
thank you.
trying to put these things out to people that have a lot of questions out there. So why doesn't normal chiropractic teach this? Why is this something that is so niche and so unique? Because, normally, right, when we talk about the medical field, we talk about specialties, we talk about different techniques, different practices. Why aren't they teaching this in most chiropractic schools? I mean, why is it so unique?
That's a great question. I've been getting asked that for 25 years from patients. Why the heck isn't everyone doing this? I still don't have a perfect answer for you. Other than in most professions, the thing that is the best and works most efficiently is usually a niche. I don't know why that is, but the thing that everyone else is doing is usually not the most efficient or best thing, has been my experience. So
seeing them come back through the door over and over again. And in your profession, what you've seen is you've seen really bad cases. I've sent you patients that are really super bad cases, kind of like yours was, suicidal, depressed, anxious, tinnitus, blood pressure issues, vision issues, vertigo, the list goes on and on. But you're actually getting to the root of the problem. So it's not like you're doing this over and over again to make them come back through your door. It's like, hey, let's get this done and let's get you set up so that you can move along. You can exercise, you can be normal, you can stretch, correct?
Absolutely, that's the goal, but nothing is 100%. And yes, I still have what I call my chronic cases that aren't stable, but by and large, a good majority of the upper cervical cases, yes, they stabilize, they heal through the trouble, and then they come in periodically for maintenance, or many of them drop out of care, even though I've tried my best to educate them that they should be checked periodically, like a dental checkup. But yeah, upper cervical work typically, I call myself the last ditch doctor, or I call upper cervical the last ditch doctor, because it's usually people that have been everywhere else and no one's been able to help. And P.S. Thank you for your referrals over the years.
Well, you're welcome. Well, I mean, I trust you. You're the only one I trust with the with the cervical. I mean, that's huge. So let's go back to you for a minute. So when you found this guy and he started working on you at such a young age, how long did it take him with what you do now to really kind of get you up and going?
I mean, within 24 hours, it was like, how in the heck does this exist and nobody knows about it? Like I took 3 hours every night to fall asleep. I never slept through the night. I never woke up rested. And the first night I went to bed at my normal 10 o'clock. And instead of falling asleep at 1 o'clock, I woke up the next morning and I slept straight through the night. I didn't remember falling asleep because it happened in 5 or 10 minutes. When I woke up in the morning, oh my God, I feel like I actually like got rest last night. So no, it wasn't overnight, but within like days, there was a massive shift in physiology. Um, I had a really severe case, obviously, and this isn't typical in the upper cervical work, but I mean, it took me 18 months before I was kind of, I was very unstable in the beginning. I was needed a lot of correction. And then around the 3.5 month mark, I held my correction for a year and a half.
Wow.
And so,
That's it.
yeah, but within a few months, I was sleeping through the night. My depression was gone. I wasn't having the anxiety the way I did. My sinuses opened up. My muscle pain was better. My body temperature that always felt out of thermostat, I felt comfortable in my own body.
Yeah, and that goes to the next question of why don't you point out again to people? I mean, when we're talking about the C1, C2 Atlas axis, it people don't understand. They play a lot of sports, they do stupid things, they have accidents on trampolines, maybe they had a simple, quote unquote car accident. Um, Explain how sensitive people's cervical spinalis muscles and the spine itself is.
Well, that's a great question. So I explain it this way to patients. You got a 10 to 12 pound bowling ball sitting on a 2 ounce bone. The atlas weighs 2 ounces, and the two joints on the top of the atlas are smaller than your index finger uh, print, right? So those two joints are bearing a bowling ball on the end of a stick, your neck. So the engineering of the head neck junction makes it the most susceptible area to spinal misalignment because it's only held together by muscles and ligaments. And so it's really blunt type trauma. Even a 3 mile an hour car accident where there's no damage to each car, there's 7 G forces to the neck. So it's that sharp jolting type force. Patients always come in and I ask them about their trauma history. Oh, I've never had any trauma, because they think they have to have had a rollover car accident or their car totaled at 80 miles an hour when they got rear-ended. But the truth is, there's a lot of heading soccer balls. There's lots of things that we do through life that can cause trouble in the upper neck. And the thing is when that initial insult happens, they don't usually feel bad right away. Even with the trauma I had, I didn't feel bad right away. The body's amazing. It can adapt to all sorts of different things, and it takes time of a
I
structural misalignment.
my frozen shoulder from my neck injury from my car accident for a little over a year.
Yeah.
And I need
Yeah. So it takes time to wear down this amazing machine. And in the same vein, getting that corrected, it just doesn't clear out overnight. There's a lot of soft tissue injury, ligament repair, muscle rebalancing that needs to take place, and it's a process. So,
Well, can you add to that whole circadian rhythm, the sleep imbalance? Because I know for a lot of people, right, they're going to ask, well, okay, I have a neck injury, and I always correlate that back: paraplegic, quadriplegic, paralyzed from the waist down, lower lumbar, paralyzed from the neck down, from the neck. So, and explain to people exactly why circadian rhythm can be such an important thing to address when they have overlapping issues. I know I've had people from the military, vets, with
are you
PT.
talking about sleep pattern disruption? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, the majority of what I see, and this was my case with sleep issues, is sympathetic overload. So there's two parts of the nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic. The parasympathetic is the healing zone. You feel relaxed. The sympathetic is fight or flight, run away. When you have irritation up in the upper neck from an atlas misalignment, it increases sympathetic tone, which leads to anxiety and repetitive thinking. Like a lot of the people that have trouble falling to sleep at night because they can't turn their brain off, and they can't sink down into the the parasympathetics because the neck is irritating the cord and causing that imbalance. And so once you get that irritation removed, the sympathetics calm down, the parasympathetics return to normal, and they are more in that healing zone, so to speak. I mean, there's other factors, of course. Um, but yeah, I mean, simply put, your central nervous system controls everything in your body, your hormones, muscle tone regulation, balance, all of your internal organ function. And so therefore it follows that if you have a misalignment that's irritating the cord, it can affect anything in the entire system.
So really, in essence, people should really be attuning this just because too, correct? I mean,
I
every
mean,
we do
even
things.
though I call myself the last ditch doctor because that's who gets to me, the truth is this is something that should be checked at birth, periodically through childhood, kind of like dentistry. Like, unfortunately, because no one knows about this, they end up sick and screwed up for 10 years and go through the system and then find it. But if they had been checked along the course of life and not the trauma like I had I been corrected right after it happened, if I had the awareness about it, I wouldn't have gone through what I went through for 3 years. So,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, and so let me ask you this too, because a lot of people are going to say that are very unfamiliar to this. Okay, well, he's talking about adjusting the C1, C2, and you're saying like no cracking, no this, no that. So how exactly do you do these techniques? Because I know a lot of people come into me and they're like, well, so when I go there, what does he do? Does he use an activator? What exactly is this?
So, I use my hands. It's called a toggle recoil adjustment. And to make it simple, the patient's lying on their side. The 3D imaging allows us to come up with a direction of misalignment and the angles of the joints because everyone's built different. And you can look at it. We use a formula or an angle and introduce a force into the neck when they're sidelined. So they're in a neutral position. When the correction's made, it's a really quick force that goes in. Their head's on what's called a drop head piece, so it drops 3/16 of an inch, and that just makes the adjustment happen easier. So that's my best way of describing it. No, it's not a machine.
A lot of people that are afraid, right, of chiropractic, just like you said, you were
Almost.
afraid, right?
Yep.
So it's like when people come to you, it's like, oh wow, that was there was nothing.
I tell every patient before they're adjusted, I know you're scared, I know you're freaked out, but what you're going to be thinking right after I make this correction is, did he do anything? So it's so quick and light. Like, most patients drive home and turn to their spouse and say, I don't know about this. It's that non-invasive. So you can introduce a force in a very quick fashion that doesn't disturb much and repositions the segment back into motion. It doesn't, when you have the precision of the imaging and you know exactly how the person's out of alignment, it doesn't take a lot of force to clear it.
Okay, and then so generally, like let's just say I would come in, right, and
Yep.
lay on your table, and I need to come in actually because I have had a rollover car accident. I have had a 50-mile-an-hour head-on collision, so I'm definitely a candidate there. Um, Depending on the patient, like you said, and depending on the severity, it everyone is different, everyone's body is different. Do you generally tell people when they first go home, don't do this, don't do that, maybe ice, maybe
Of
heat?
course.
What's the protocol?
Yeah, so you're taking a joint that has misaligned and the soft tissue has grown to the bad position, and generally all the muscles are locked down. And before they're corrected, it's actually in a stable situation because everything's so tight in there, right? So then we're introducing a force to take the joint that's misaligned and knock it back in its normal range of motion. It's not stable there. So absolutely, after they're adjusted, they're not to lift 10 pounds the day, not the next day, the day of. No being on a computer for hours on end, no exercise. I tell patients, act like you're 100 years old today. And then at the beginning of care, I mean, depending on the case and what's going on and their activity level before starting care, yeah, there's recommendations to, we don't want them sitting in lazy boys and doing nothing.
Right.
But
Right.
on the flip side of that, we also don't want them painting ceilings and bench pressing 300 pounds.
Right, exactly. And so for people that are very active and athletes, I mean, you're still very active. So for people that are kind of going through this process, do you also kind of let them know how to get back into their activity levels, lifting weights, stretching? Because I know a lot of people do not stretch properly. I should know this. And they also do not strengthen appropriately. So do you also give them suggestions such as you need to find this person for stretching? You actually should, especially if you've had an upper cervical injury, see a personal trainer, so on and so forth, because I know a lot of people think that they know how to work out, right? And their form's off, everything's off. And then they do a muscle imbalance thing in the gym and wham, they're back to square one.
Yeah. I mean, of course, each person's unique. If it's someone who's been lifting weights their whole life, I'm going to tell them to do something completely different than someone who has had fibromyalgia and Lyme and chronic fatigue syndrome for 20 years and has done absolutely nothing, right? So the person is super active. The day they're adjusted, just tell them to lay off. I'll modify some of the weightlifting if that's what they do for that particular person. So yeah, it would be individualized to what's going on. Now, the person who's been inactive and sick that recovers and becomes stable, yeah, they want to start slowly. Like, they can't start like back to where they were 20. And um, I mean, I tell patients walking is what we're designed to do. That's the best thing they can start with. And then once they become more stable, yeah, strength training's great.
So, like when you were young, going back to when this happened to you and you felt better and then you went into this. So now, do you still have somebody work on you doing this technique? I have to ask.
Of course. I mean, the type of injury that I had, when you tear alar ligaments and joint capsules, they heal and repair, but they're never the way they were when they're healthy.
Mhm.
Um, so when I go out of alignment now, do I know it? Of course. Do I have 40 different chronic symptoms like I used to? No. Um, so it's more of like a maintenance thing to maximize the potential that I have. Does that
So
make
now,
sense?
yes. So yes, and thank you for answering it that way because you answered multiple questions in one. So you have what, 5 offices now? 4?
I mean, I have one that I work out of in Sarasota, and then myself, Dr. Lavender, who's in Lakewood Ranch, and Dr. Matt Morris formed a company called Neckwise. It's a straight upper cervical chiropractic conglomerate. So we're setting up upper cervical clinics throughout Florida. And the goal
Excellent.
is to brand upper cervical. So the reason a lot of people don't get under care that need it, like millions of them in the country, is because they just don't know.
Exactly.
So, I mean, part of doing what we're doing is to raise brand awareness. And another part of it is a lot of our upper cervical world has gone sideways and is mixing upper cervical with all these other things that, in my opinion, are incongruent with the upper cervical healing philosophy and modality. Um,
So let me ask if someone is interested in becoming a chiropractor, right? Where do they find this technique? Because I know a lot of schools offer a lot of different things. Everyone talks about Palmer. Everyone talks about certain schools. Where would you offer advice for a new person actually seeking more holistic, getting into what you do? How do they find somewhere that actually teaches us?
well, I'll answer this in 2 parts. The first thing I would do is I would shadow someone if it's something they're interested in. There's a website called blairchiropractic.com. That's all the people that do the Blair Upper Cervical work in the world. So if you're someone that's young, that's interested, and I would find someone in your area and shadow them,
Mhm.
because then you can get an idea of what happens in the office. And yes, it's fun. Now, if they're already like, I want to become a chiropractor, and they are like headed towards chiropractic school, that the blairtechnique.com houses the technique part of the Blair work and has all the seminars that are taught throughout the country. So there's primary, intermediate, and advanced seminars that are taught. And yes, you have to be a chiropractic student in order to attend that.
So tell us a little bit about the kind or type of patients that you see on a normal weekly basis, right? Because I know you have Instagram. I love your Instagram videos. I share them all the time with all kinds of people. I've got you on my website as a referral up in Sarasota because I think you're so cool. So, so tell us, right? Because I know from experience from being here in Inglewood, Florida, that when I refer certain people to certain local people, they're not always approaching it the same way, of course, as you do. So tell us a little bit about the kind of patients that seek you out, or tell us a little bit about the patients that do seek you out for one thing, and then they find out, wow, this guy's got like this humongous Rolodex of patients that he helps.
I mean, things have kind of morphed over the years. The last 7 to 10 years, especially since COVID and the COVID shot, like
Oh, yeah.
60 to 70% of the practice is vestibular issues, tinnitus, eustachian tube dysfunction, body-wide inflammation, POTS type symptoms. Prior to all that, I mean, basically trigeminal neuralgia, occipital neuralgia, all the chronic conditions that don't find help in the conventional system, because in the conventional system, they're not doing anything that actually causes healing in the system. They're just covering things up, right?
Exactly.
Now,
Exactly.
I understand that there's a time and a place for drugs and surgeries, but when it comes to chronic degenerative health issues, medicine is not going to be your answer, because you've got to do something that actually helps the body function better so it can heal itself out of the trouble. So, simply
Well,
put, the
I
office is full of people that have been everywhere else and nothing has helped. And that's from post concussion syndrome to uh, vertigo to Meniere's disease, trigeminal neuralgia, TMJ issues respond really well.
I was just going to tell you, I just sent a patient of mine to you that has severe TMJ. So between,
TMJ like responds so well to upper
yeah,
cervical, like
I know, I
not
know.
100%, but I put it in the high middle 80s where they do wonderful.
Well, and so I just sent her to you. So you should be getting a phone call here within the
Well,
next.
thank you.
You're welcome. But tell us a little bit about that because everybody, right? So everybody that either has a mouth guard or extremely stressed out and they clench and they do all this stuff. Um, Tell us why. Now I know
So
why.
that's a multi-pronged thing.
Yeah.
So I'll start with TMJ. Grinding's kind of a little different, but TMJ, your muscles of mastication, right? Chewing muscles are here. All TMJ is in most of the cases. One side has become tighter than the other, and the TMJ joint is a hinge joint like this. And when the muscles are balanced, it fits and glides the way it's supposed to. When the muscles get tight on one side, not the other, it draws the TMJ joint out of balance, and that's where the cracking and the grinding is coming from. Now, the muscles of mastication are controlled in the trigeminal nerve tract, which extends down to the third cervical. The actual nuclei is up in the cranial vault. But so upper cervical misalignments irritate the trigeminal tract, which causes muscles of mastication to be out of balance and causes the TMJ issues. Grinding, that's more back to the sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetics are overactive and maybe they have too much stress in their life also. So I'm
I love interviewing you because, like, right? Because I'm a total anatomy nerd and I love
just
the whole breakdown that you give. I've got a guy also that I'm sending to you. Now, this is an interesting case, and I'm going to share this. Um, he has occlusion, right? He's got occipital neuralgia, but he's got occlusion due to degenerative deterioration.
but
And so that's going to be interesting because of what his body has been doing over the years. They're now testing him for Alzheimer's. So I want to get into this with you because this is very, very important for people to understand this. And this is something very close to my heart because I see a lot of people misdiagnosed all the time. And
yeah.
they're put on like Aricept, they're put on all these meds, and it's making them worse. So tell us a little bit about that, about blood pressure, Alzheimer's, dementia, symptoms, and what a lot of this has to do also with upper cervical.
So there's a great paper out there written by Mike Flanagan, and he calls the head neck junction a choke point. And the reason he calls it a choke point is all the blood that flows up into your brain, all the blood that flows out of your brain, all the neurological messages that travel from the brain to the body and from the body to the brain, and all the CSF fluid that bathes the brain drains through that choke point. So a structural misalignment at the floor of the skull can increase what they call hydrodynamic pressure inside the brain. That's the CSF fluid because it's not draining properly. It can affect blood flow into the brain, cognitive function. Both of those are related to cognitive function. And so it's not just the neurological components. I mean, the upper neck is, and the brain obviously is paramount to all the function in your body. So structural problems in the neck affect cerebral blood perfusion. Like I said, I just had a lady a year ago. She was diagnosed with intracranial idiopathic hypertension. She gets seizures many times a week. She can't think straight. She's been through the gamut. And this isn't always like this. I adjusted her once and she held for like 9 months. Went 9 months, no seizures, brain cleared out, migraines cleared up. And so, of course, upper cervical doesn't have the answer for everything. But if you have chronic degenerative stuff going on, I mean, the upper cervical region has to be checked and it has to be corrected. It may not be the 100%, root cause of everything, but it's absolutely going to help the body work better. And when the body works better, it gives us best chance to heal through all sorts of different things.
Well, you remember that one lady I sent to you, she was older, and she was having chronic migraine headaches. I mean, so excruciating. She was suicidal. And I was doing cranial work on her up, still point, blah, 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 nothing that you do. And she sings your praises. She literally saw me in a parking lot the other day with her new puppy and came up to me and gave me the.
I want to know who this is.
I know, I gotta look. I'm so bad with names, but she gave me
Well,
the.
we'd be breaking HIPAA if we said it anyway.
Yeah, I know. We can't. But she did. She told me, she said, Sierra, she said, had I not met you because you met him, he literally saved my life. Like it was to that point where she was like, nope, not going to do it. And that's why I think it's so important too, to also talk about the people on medications. Because I know you see a lot of this too, where people are totally overly medicated. They have no idea that it's actually causing them to regress in that progress. So is there cases where people are coming into you, they're over medicated, they're overstimulated, all this
I
stuff,
mean, of course.
and then you have this effect on their upper cervical, and they're like, wow, like maybe I can come off some meds, or maybe I can go forward.
I mean, I'll preface this by saying there are times and places where medication is necessary and does save people's lives.
Yeah.
But when people are 35 years old and they are on 30 different medications, that's a problem. So it's not all doctors. There's lots of good MDs out there that take care of them appropriately and co-manage and whatever. But, every week I get people in where I'm like, who's your doctor? Like, I had a gal in LA that she was like 32 and she was on like 30 something medications. And it's like 30 different medications. Like half your problems are probably from all the side effects. The best part of that story, within 6 months, we had her off of everything. So I can't, as a chiropractor, tell people to quit their medication. Sometimes they're feeling better, they forget to take them, and they do it voluntarily. And sometimes, in concert with their medical doctor, they get off them.
Well, and now, besides expanding on what you know, have you guys actually thought about putting some other people within the mix of things that you guys are doing and expanding your practice that way?
Of course, we don't have all the answers, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, I refer out to functional medicine people. I have a full spine chiropractor around the corner from me that I send people to sometimes when they need localized things that I don't do. I have Jill Morris down the street from me with world-class dentistry, who I don't have all the answers for TMJ sometimes because they have teeth problems. So yeah, of course. I mean, any good health practitioner, no matter how good they are, knows they don't have all the answers. And so having a team of people around you where you can refer people at the appropriate time is important.
Absolutely. And so just to kind of close this, so you do a lot of Instagram lives. I see them all the time. How can people find you and how can people really learn? Because I never really did ask you, did you ever write a book or do anything like that yet?
I have one that's 3/4 written and I never got done. And now with AI, I could. So how can people reach me? Our website's www.sarasotauppercervical.com. And there, if you're looking for someone nationally, you can go to uccnearme.com. And if you're in Tampa, North Tampa, Fort Myers, or Salt Lake, you can go to neckwise.com. I'm on that site too.
Well, and the last point that I absolutely want to make, because this is something too, right, that people always talk about, is it covered by insurance? Is it self-pay? So just kind of let people know how important it is to invest in their health, because this is something that I come across all the time. And I want to shake people and
Yep.
go, no, you're looking
Some
at this all wrong.
some people would rather stay sick and go to healthcare that covers their insurance covers rather than pay something out of pocket to get better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. We are self-pay. However, if you have PPO coverage and it covers chiropractic, we offer a super bill so that we do have a percentage of patients that get reimbursed. Um, yeah, the truth is sometimes you got to look outside of the system that covers you for an answer. And why don't we take insurance? Because they're a total pain in the rear.
They
They
are.
deny coverage. They have people on their payroll that look at soap notes, and it's a chiropractor's never practiced a day in their life to deny your care. And it's just, I don't want to be fighting with insurance companies all day. I want to direct my energy to helping people.
I'm with you. Okay, well, I can't wait to have you back on the show, because you'll have other practices and other things going on, and maybe catching more fish in Siesta Key and writing that book.
Always doing that.
And have you ever thought, I don't know if you've thought about this, have you ever thought about inventing something that people can like do at home, or do anything like that?
I
I
have lots of,
always, I always
I've,
think about these things.
I've had sci-fi dreams for sure. And if I had Elon Musk at my disposal, um, I could, well, I'm not going to tell you my idea though.
Oh, I know, but I'm always like curious, like when I see people like you, and my wheels get to spinning, and I think, there's got to be like so many different avenues that he is going to be doing down the
I
road.
mean, the truth is that we're still in development. Like, if we had $50 million of research money, we could definitely improve upon what we're currently doing. But,
Mhm.
you know, the NIH doesn't give poor upper cervical chiropractors research money.
All right. Well, Dr. Drew, thank you so much for coming on the show, and it was fantastic. And I can't wait to have you back on and talk about some new things going on down the road. Okay, so thank you. I
I
appreciate it.
appreciate you having me on. Thank you.